But I also think, to hope anyway, that American ingenuity and our entrepreneurial spirit wins out. But I'm starting to get the feeling that may not be true. You know, in your international experience, do you see the same drive to start a business and innovate and invent in foreign countries that you see?
Well, yeah, I mean, for them, it's their, and China and India right now are kind of going through their, quote unquote, you know, new deal or their new generation, industrial revolution
right? Sure.
that we went through back in the 40s, right?
Yeah.
They're going through that today. I mean, look at what you saw during the Olympics. I mean, amazing in China what they've been able to do. Listen, I was in Beijing.
Very militaristic.
I went to Beijing in 2000. Mm-hmm. We almost lived in Beijing in 2000. We ended up living in Hong Kong because of the pregnancy, but we almost were living in Beijing, but I was going all the time. And let me tell you something, the only semblance of Western civilization in October 2000 was at TGI Fridays, of all things, in Beijing.
Wow.
You still had, it was very communist. It was, you know, you had, you know, Mao's pictured everywhere. I mean, it was very much hardcore, gray, and I mean, what you see on, what you would expect to see in Tiananmen Square is what you saw.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Now look at it.
Yeah.
You go to Shanghai today, Shanghai is probably the most vibrant, alive city on the planet, even more so than Times Square.
Yeah, and they're investing a great deal
of money. And it's amazing what they're doing, right? So to answer your question directly, you know, just by the pure size of numbers, you know, 1.1 billion people in India, 1.3 or 4 billion people in China, 2.4, I mean, over a third of the world's population in just those two countries alone, mm-hmm. right? They have a hunger for success. You know, the thing that they have in common is they want to be like us.
Right.
They want all the great things that we have. They want 2 cars. They want credit cards. They want nice homes. They want nice clothes. They want all those things. They've got an insatiable appetite to go get it.
What can, from your perspective, I know you're also politically involved, you know, what can we do to convince people that we're losing this race and that we really seriously need to do more than just lip service to catching up? And people say catching up. I actually had a pretty heated argument with someone saying, "Oh, America's leaders." No, we're not. I mean, we're not. We're no longer, you know, leading the world in these great inventions and financial health. And yes, we're the military power. Yes, culturally, we're a dream country. People want to be Americans in many ways because we have a constitution that allows people to be free and do things. But I guess the point is Americans are feeling like they're born entitled to this, and that somehow because we're American, we are owed this leadership position. How do we convince the populace that comes through hard work and continued innovation? And,
well, I think one outcome of the economic problems we're having right now is going to be the fact that people are going to realize that, you know what, we need to stand up, and we need to stand on top of the mountains, and we need to shout loud so everybody can hear that we are leaders. I mean, the one thing, you know, look what we have going for us. We have incredible freedoms that no other country on the planet can enjoy.
Absolutely.
Right? We have, at the end of the day, we're a melting pot of all multicultural, multinational organizations, people, you name it, where people can live together in harmony and not have problems.
Yep.
You know, all over the world you see ethnic problems. You don't see that here.
Even in very small areas.
I'm not saying that they don't exist,
sure.
but they're not quite as predominant as they are in other places, right? Mm-hmm. The other things we have going for us, we do have quite a phenomenal and entrenched we have Silicon Valley, we have all these different places where where innovation does still exist. We have phenomenal education system with some of the top universities in the world. Right. You know, there might be, you know, I think there's Tsinghua University in China and IIT in India are the top 2 universities in China and India, right? But here you had Stanford, Harvard, you know, the UCLAs, the Berkeleys, the Whartons of the world, right? So there's so much more opportunity from an educational perspective. So those are the good things we have going for us, plus others, right?
Of course.
But you know, I also believe, and I agree with you, that the stimulus package was kind of geared towards more of a infrastructure, shovel-ready type program. Right. What I want to see is the bold statement from President Obama, from somebody to say, you know what, we're going to cure cancer in 10 years. We're going to put a person on Mars in 30 years. Right. I want to see those types of things.
Dream goals that make people go.
I want to see the Kennedy goal, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's what needs to happen, is we need that. I want somebody to say, from a green perspective, that come year 2030, every single car in the United States is going to be some sort of alternative hybrid, alternative fuel, alternative energy, whatever you want to call it, car. Right? You know, I want somebody to come out and say that. I want big goals. I want big dreams. And you know what? I was always taught, whether it was at Dell, wherever I was, the BHAG, right? The big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yep.
You know, I don't want to shoot for this bar. I want to shoot for that bar.
My father used to tell me, if you're looking at the ground, you find a dollar. If you look up here, you'll find your dreams. And much of America today is walking around looking for the dollar laying on the ground instead of, you know, reaching past what's comfortable. And you know, there seems to be a limited willingness. And some of it, I think, has got to do with being smacked down and frustrated. You know, I have a little Weeble at home. I don't know if you know what a Weeble is, but it's the toys that you knock them over and they keep standing. That's me. I see, and I've had really some tough times in my life, and I'm doing very well now. But you could knock me down again tomorrow, and I would get right back up and do it again. So I guess from the perspective of talking about this dream stimulus, the stimulus package and that drive, don't we need to go and be a part of, as all of us, be a part of telling them that short-term goals aren't good enough? I mean, you know, more people need to be a part of the political discussion, I guess is my point. How do we get the average citizen to realize they can make a difference? This is something I struggle with a lot personally.
Absolutely. You know, listen, I also, you know, we also can't go overboard on dream projects too. So there's got to be the right balance between the two. The other thing is there can't be any fear mongering, because that just doesn't work.
Agreed.
Right? None of that.
We've seen that for the last 10 years. That's enough.
That rhetoric and all that stuff has got to go away. The one thing, whether you're in Washington, D.C., whether you're the mayor of a local community, you have to understand is that the American people are very resilient. The Weebles. Very resilient. You'll knock them down, but they will come back. We will come out of this recession.
Agreed.
And we will be stronger, and we'll be stronger than probably than any other nation on the planet, right? Because of how resilient we are, and the fact that it's going to create more jobs on a global basis, whatever we want to do. But you know, at the end of the day, it's going to boil down to the fact that we right now have a chance to really educate this emerging generation. Volunteering is okay. That, you know what, sometimes, you know, it's okay to not have an ego. To take something maybe a little bit lesser and build yourself back up. You know, I was young, you were young when the whole aerospace industry here in Southern California collapsed. Right? McDonnell Douglas, Boeing, all these guys left. I'm looking at our buddy over here behind the camera, he's shaking his head, oh, I remember, right? But what did those people do? You know, these people were directors, VPs at aerospace companies. What did they do? They went and learned, you know, coding. They went and learned basic C++. They went and learned how to use a computer. They went and learned what to do. They retrained themselves, right? They, you know, the one thing during a recession is that, you know, educational type opportunities somehow continue to go as well. So people are trying to retrain themselves. So
it's a reset. I think it's a national reset, and I'm hoping that you're right, because, you know, 7 years ago I also had that same issue. I lost my business and had to start again. And I came into this company with basically no knowledge of what I'm doing, and I'm now an executive vice president, very successful in my job here. And part of that is because of that time. It was, when I came in, it was, you know, a down economy after the dot-com explosion. People were willing to take risks in that, and I also was willing to take a lot less money than I needed to take the opportunity. So, hey, I sincerely want to thank you for coming in tonight. It's been a great conversation. I wanted to give you the opportunity. Is there any comment you'd like to make before we go?
Yeah, there one last thing I'd like to say is, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I love it. You know, thanks. Happy to come back anytime. Love for everybody to go join Greenwala.com whenever they can. But at the end of the day, I think the most important message, if I could ever partake on anybody, is that a lot of people say, well, one person can't make a difference. You know, well, gee, if I'm just one person on Green, what about all the people in China and India? You know what? All I know is that it took one person to devise a plan to do some pretty nasty things on September 11th.
Amen.
It took one person. I mean, this whole mortgage mess came out of a cube, out of one guy somewhere came up with this mortgage plan. It just, I mean, it didn't just all of a sudden come out there. It was born somewhere. And it was born by one guy probably sitting in a cube somewhere on, you know, sitting somewhere in New York, maybe wherever he or she was, sitting at a bank or wherever they were, and said, boy, gee, why don't we go ahead and do this? And so there you go. There's an example of one person. We can make a difference. You at home can make a difference. You can make a difference. I can be a difference. What we need to do is decide we want to make a difference.
I agree with that.
We can sit at home and cry and whine, or we can get off our butts and try to go make a difference.
Agreed. And I'm gonna expand upon that a little bit, and I have stayed with one particular philosophical statement, and that is, for all of those who say it can't be done, please move aside and let those of us doing it do what we need to do. So thanks again. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
It's been great. And
thank you.
That is Eye on Business, and I'm Kevin McDonald, your host, and we look forward to seeing you next time.